All right, so in this segment, we want to talk about how you create psychological safety within the team. And we want to cite some research done by Google over 5 years ago now, where they wanted to look at what makes for really effective teams. And so they went on this 18-month research effort where they looked at over 100 teams and tried to find some common denominators or common practices that really made for effective teams. And they actually boiled it down to two behaviors. And one of them was what they called conversational turn taking. And the other one was, they call it ostentatious listening, but I would just say deep listening or really good listening. So let me describe them in a little more detail. Conversational turn taking is pretty much what you would guess. And that is when you have the team together, that you want to make sure that everybody on the team had a chance to weigh in and be heard. And that's important because there's often folks, as you know, the extroverts in your team will start chiming in immediately and the introverts may hold back. And if you're smart, you'll know, okay, that's fine, but I want to make sure I loop those introverts in before we close out the discussion. But you have to kind of keep track of who have we heard from and more importantly, who haven't we heard from. So that's the first part around this good listening to help make sure that I create a zone of psychological safety. Second one's a little tougher, this notion of ostentatious or really good deep listening. So let me demonstrate what I mean, what that looks like or sounds like, because what it would mean is as you're going around and hearing from each person on your team, you're going to say, well, what do you think? And you wait for somebody to chime in. And so Sarah chimes in and so she gets done. And so you might say back to her, all right, Sarah, so you're saying blah, 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 blah. Did I get that right? And then here's one of two things are going to happen. She's either going to say yes, meaning you got it, you nailed it, meaning, okay, then I can move on to somebody else. Or she's going to say, well, not exactly. So that means I can't leave her yet. All right, tell me more. And then she might tell me some more. And so I might have to go back again. Oh, so you were saying blah, 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 blah. And then she gives me a yes. So I nailed it. Now I can move on to somebody else. Now that takes effort to stay with somebody and give them that kind of listening. And at the same time, you got to understand that I may or may not agree with whatever they're saying, but I still got to stay with them and make sure I heard them correctly. Because that's what they want to know is that, did you hear me correctly? Did my voice, my concern, my issue, my feelings about whatever the topic is, did they get a chance to be a part of this conversation? Because if they didn't, and she walks away feeling like my voice was not heard, I shouldn't be surprised later if she's not fully committed to the idea, whatever we decided. So that's the ostentatious listening, and you got to do that for each person. That's going to take some work, it's going to take some effort, and it's going to take some time. No way around it. But that's the two behaviors that you need to start thinking about if you want to engage your team and really create a zone of psychological safety. Now, if you've been working for the team for a while and they are already there and very comfortable telling you exactly what's going on, it's less of an issue. But for many of us, we have team members coming on at various times and things are changing so constantly that we might have to find ourselves in that space of, I got to do this. I got to make sure everyone's heard and make sure that I really heard them correctly. So those are the behaviors around creating psychological safety. Conversational turn taking and doing that deep listening by checking back with them until they let you know, yes, you heard me correctly. All right, the next segment we'll start to get into an even tougher one, and that is folks are going to be emotional and they're going to feel strongly about some things and they want to be able to feel like they can say that without retribution. And how can I lean into those conversations? We'll see that in segment 3.